Well, good evening. This is Frater Ralph, and I'm coming at you with another episode of Hermetic Temple Radio. And tonight, the topic is going to be along the lines of exo-theology, discussing the question, do we have to develop a more cosmic view of the human race? And this may seem strange, because many of us, if not all of us, were raised with a very earth-centered view of humanity. And, that just, now that I say it, it sounds almost like common sense. Of course, humans originated on this earth. And this is something, at least that's what we suppose. And, this attitude comes forth fairly strong in most of our science fiction programs. I remember one of the Star Trek movies with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. And in this one, I forget the name of it, but Captain Kirk is talking to Mr. Spock and is talking about human emotions and humanity as they apply both to humans and to Klingons, and he's also suggesting they also apply to Vulcans. And Captain Kirk looks at Spock and he says, "You know what, Spock? Everybody's human." And Spock takes a look at Captain Kirk and says, "I feel somewhat insulted by that remark." But the attitude that most of us have, and it's just because it was the attitude that we're raised with, it's just the common sense that nobody has ever dared to question, is that humanity originated on planet Earth, and that humans of Earth are the true humans. But what if Captain Kirk, in that movie, is correct? That in a sense, in a very real sense, everybody's human. Both humans from Earth and aliens from other worlds, humanoids from other worlds. We're all cut from a similar cloth, if not the same cloth. When we think about human origins, folks that believe in evolution will say that all the various families of the human race, that we all began from a common ancestor. And they think that this common ancestor is a sort of it's intelligent ape or humanoid ape. I don't know what the exact term is, but sort of a ape person from Africa. And that this ape person developed into other things that eventually evolved into modern-day human beings. And, of course, the special creationists have a different view. They say that we were created by God directly, within a 7-day, 6-day time frame in the Garden of Eden, and that we were all created right here on Earth. But what if the process of creation cannot be simplified? That radically, just down to 6 days. We know that the universe has been around for about 14 billion years, which sounds like a long time, but when you think that the national deficit is well above 14 billion, it really doesn't seem like that large of a number. But the universe has been around for a very, very long time, and the process of creation has got to be, whether you believe in special creation or evolution, has got to be far more complex than it has been portrayed by most creationists as having occurred just within a 6-day time frame, and then bam, everything was the way it was, and the way we see things today is the way things have always been. And when you think about evolution, that we all descend from a common ancestor, like some ape person in Africa, some 3 million years ago, or 2 million years ago, or 5 million years ago, or whatever the current estimate is. Perhaps that isn't entirely true either. Perhaps the common ancestor that evolutionists look for is not entirely a product of this world. What if other beings from other worlds came to Earth in the far, far distant past and took some pre-human beings that were native to Earth, manipulated their genes, giving them their own DNA, creating a hybrid of earthly pre-humans and alien DNA, and mixing it together to create something similar to modern-day human beings. What if, in the process of creation, God, the creator of all, did not act alone, but had helpers in the forms of ancient astronauts, alien beings from other planets? Now, I realize this is a speculative discussion, but what if it is true? Don't we have to redefine our view, our definition of humanity? Don't we have to extend the concept of human, not just to the humanoid beings of this world, but also to the humanoid beings of other worlds, who may very well have intermingled with us in the far distant past? That's going to be the topic I'm going to tackle tonight. And before we go any further, I'm going to take a little break and play a song called Humans by Anton Cosmo, and then we'll be right back.
One time we all should arrive.
If you've been a listener to our previous episodes of Hermetic Temple Radio, you know that I share a lot of the same views as Graham Hancock and Michael Cremo, who both tend to feel that the version of human origins and human history that most of us have been taught in school is not entirely correct. Most of us have been taught that human civilization arose on this planet sometime about 6,000 years ago or 7,000 years ago, and that it started in the Fertile Crescent area, and that human civilization has been a steady evolution, from the caveman days up till the Stone Age and the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, and right on up to the modern day atomic age and space age, and that everything has progressed in a very logical, orderly manner, and that's just the way it is. But now, folks like Graham Hancock and Michael Cremo look at anomalies in the historical record, stuff that's not really supposed to be there. And they both deal in an area that's called, well, that Michael Cremo is called forbidden archaeology, in which they'll discuss evidence that we really were not presented with when we're being taught the mainstream theories of human origins and the development of human civilization. Things like buildings being submerged under the sea around Japan or in the Mediterranean or off the coast of the United States. Buildings and roadways and walls that appear to be of human construction and yet have been submerged under water since the end of the last ice age, at least the end of the last ice age, which would be about 10 to 12,000 years ago. And that alone pushes the beginnings of human civilization far back, much further than just 6,000 years ago. An advanced, or let's say relatively advanced human civilization that could build a pyramid or roadways or walls would have to go back at least 12,000, 13,000 years. And Michael Cremo has discussed cities that have been discovered and conveniently ignored by mainstream archaeologists, but cities which tend to date back about 200,000 years. 200,000 years. I believe one is somewhere in Mexico. There's another city that's been discovered around in Turkey, which is subterranean, which is kind of like a city underground, which shows a high level of engineering, a high level of sophistication. And again, we're talking about a city that was dated at least 20,000 years old. So we're beginning to be faced with alternative evidence that tends to suggest that the view that human civilization arose some maybe 8,000 years ago is very flawed, that we have had a human civilization, or at least a humanoid civilization, that has been around for 20,000 years, 200,000 years, and perhaps even further into the distant past. If we had the ability to perform archaeological digs deep down into the Atlantic Ocean, then I think we might actually be discovering even more evidence that's been hidden away underwater over the millennia. And there are other researchers too. And this is where the idea that perhaps humanoids or the humans of Earth are not as special as we've been led to believe come from. But the work that's been done by Zecharia Sitchin, who wrote the book The 12th Planet, talking about the Anunnaki, beings, incredibly advanced beings who came to Earth, thousands of years ago, and performed experiments on the primitive beings of Earth, pre-human beings of Earth, and genetically manipulated them to recreate these humanoid beings that they found on Earth according to their own image and according to their own likeness. And this, of course, opens up a huge can of worms. In the book of Genesis, we're told that God created the human race in His own image and in His own likeness. And that's the way most of us were taught in Sunday school. But if you look at the word in the book of Genesis that has been translated God, you will find that it does not actually mean God, not God, male, supreme being in the singular. Now, I should have researched this before going on air tonight. I forget what that word is, but in the Hebrew, the word does not mean God. It is God in the plural. It can be translated as gods. And it doesn't mean a male god or a female god, but actually a collection of both male and female divine beings. And so when we look at that verse in the book of Genesis that says, "And in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth," we are wrong to be translating it as God in the singular. The original meaning is a council of gods. Gods in the plural, both male and female. And this comes across in as the creation story in Genesis goes further, is developed further. God says, "Let us create man," or humanity, "in our own image, in our own likeness." And then a little bit further on it says, "And so humanity was created, male and female, after the divine image." And that's not an exact quote, of course. But this creation story in Genesis, once you translate it properly, looking back at the original Hebrew words, and then with a Strong's Concordance, or perhaps if you have a working knowledge of Hebrew, you can retranslate it into the English more properly as the gods created the human race after their own image and their own likeness. Now that does open up a can of worms, as I said before, because most of us were raised with an entirely different view. That creation, the creation story, as told in the book of Genesis, means that only one God is the God of creation. And some scholars, some Bible school teachers, and Sunday school teachers will kind of come forward and say, well, yes, the book of Genesis does speak of a council of gods, but the creator God is our God, and He's the one that did the creation. But if He worked alone, then why did He have a council of gods? So it challenges the mainstream view that virtually all of us were raised with. And Zecharia Sitchin's work, based on translations he's done of Sumerian tablets written in cuneiform, which he worked on for many years. And his work suggests a slightly different story of human creation and human origins, and one that actually does go along with a revised, expanded understanding of the creation story as written in the book of Genesis, recorded in the book of Genesis. Only what Zecharia Sitchin adds is that these beings that were responsible for the creation of modern day human beings, they were not divine. They appeared to be divine to our primitive ancestors, but they are actually very advanced flesh and blood corporeal beings that had incredibly long lifespans and an incredibly advanced knowledge of genetics, science, space travel, the whole ball of wax. But the story of human creation and human origin had to be told by our primitive ancestors in the guise that we were created by the gods. The gods being, according to Zecharia Sitchin, the Anunnaki, those who came to earth from the heavens. Another scholar that I've just recently come across who works along the same lines is Gerald Clark. And he's done some work talking about what he describes as being the genealogy of the gods, in which he takes Zecharia Sitchin's work and then goes back to other tablets that he has come across and expands on Sitchin's work and takes a view of the ancient Anunnaki astronauts and scientists who came to Earth according to this theory many thousands of years ago and manipulated pre-human beings into modern-day humans. And he takes that work just a few steps further. And he suggests that the Anunnaki, at least 12 main Anunnaki researchers and scientists, went by a variety of different names, and he, in his work, traces the Anunnaki, as recorded in the Sumerian tablets, to other gods of the Middle East and the Mediterranean, linking them not just to the gods of ancient Sumeria, like Marduk, but also linking them to the gods of the Romans and the Greeks. You know, Zeus, Jove, Jupiter, Aphrodite, and even links these Anunnaki beings to the gods, the God of the Christians and the Jews. You know, Yahweh, Jehovah, and even suggests a link between Jesus and the Anunnaki. Now, this is, as I said in the beginning, highly speculative. We have no firm proof, but yet, if we take the work of Graham Hancock and Michael Cremo and admit that everything that we've been taught in school is incomplete, perhaps incorrect in certain ways, at least incomplete, and that human civilization goes back far, much more into the deeper past than just 8,000 years, that there's been intelligent humanoid life working and building on this planet for a long time, going back to at least 20,000 years, and perhaps even 200,000 years, and perhaps further back in history, then we have to open our minds, I believe, and admit that it is possible that there's a lot more to our prehistory than what we've been able to admit over the past few thousand years and even over the past 100 years. And that perhaps humanity is beginning to come to an understanding, an ability to understand that other intelligences have helped to guide humanity through critical junctures of our prehistory and even our current history, and might still be working with us now. I know on the surface it sounds crazy. When I was first presented with these arguments, some 15 years ago, actually much further back than that, I thought it was nuts. I thought it was lunacy. I could understand that, yes, I do believe in the UFO phenomenon. I do believe that there are things flying through the skies that should not be there, that we cannot explain away using contemporary human technology and human understanding of flight, and that there probably is life on other planets. And when you think of the vastness of the universe, how incredibly huge it is, I mean, we don't really know how many galaxies there are. I think last time I heard from Stephen Hawking's accounts, there were millions of galaxies, each having millions upon millions of different stars, and each star supporting unknown numbers of planets. And researchers have said, with that much real estate out there in just the known universe, surely there has to be more life out there in the universe than what we see right here on Earth. And if there is life on other planets, advanced life on other planets, then perhaps it has influenced us to some degree. At least that is a possibility that I think we should begin to consider and consider seriously. I'm going to take a break, play another song by Anton Cosmo called Paradise, and we'll be back again.
Everything's gonna be alright. Gonna make everything alright. Okay to keep what I feel inside alright. Gonna save you with your life. Gonna take you to paradise. Gonna wake you up inside this time. You're mine. Everything's gonna be alright. Gonna make everything alright. Okay to keep what I feel inside alright. Gonna save you with your life. Gonna take you to paradise.
When I first heard of the work of Zecharia Sitchin and listened to his theories, you know, I was a Christian pastor, and the idea that space aliens had come to Earth in the distant past, pretended to be gods, or at least were taken to be gods by the primitive pre-humans and then later humans that came to be developed. To me, that was just, it was fascinating, and I could understand the flow of logic behind his arguments, but from a perspective of faith, it was just unacceptable to be able to accept that. And it's taken me, I would say, at least a good 15 years to finally get to the point of view where I am able to say that, yes, I think there is something to the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, and I am willing to admit and to accept that ancient astronauts, more specifically according to Sitchin's work, the Anunnaki, came to Earth, impersonated gods, pretended to be gods, and manipulated humanity for their own purposes, for their own benefit, and created us as sort of a science experiment, which they used for their own ends, to enrich themselves at our expense. Now, if this view is true, and we have had a commingling of alien DNA and pre-human DNA, resulting in the creation of modern-day human beings, which are pretty much in the image of the alien race called by Sitchin and the writers of the Sumerian text, the Anunnaki, then what does this mean about our concept of humanity, our definition of what it is to be human? Like I said in the beginning, most of us, if not all of us, were raised with the understanding that humans came from this planet, that we developed on this planet. And most religious people that believe in the concept of a special creation, they have a definitely, earth-centered point of view when it comes to human origins. And the same way with those who believe in the theory of evolution, that evolution occurred on Earth. It was not influenced by any aliens, by any beings that flew flying saucers, and that our pre-human ancestors developed into modern-day human beings just by chance and natural selection. But what if there was a commingling of alien DNA and pre-human DNA 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, however far back it may have been? Don't we then have to leave our earth-centered view of human origins behind and accept, as the members of the Baha'i faith do, that there are human members of the human family on more planets than just this one? The Baha'i faith, and I was very surprised to find this out, in some of their writings, they make reference to the what they accept to be the fact that there are humans on all planets, around all stars, within our universe, and that humanity isn't something that is special and unique to the Earth, that humanity can be found all throughout the universe. Now, I think for members of the Baha'i faith and also the Hindus, there would not be any great surprise to learn that humans may have been manipulated by researchers, beings from other worlds, and that we may have been the victims, if you would, of genetic manipulation at the hands of extraterrestrial powers. For the rest of us, I think it does come as a bit of a shock, and is something that a lot of people may not be able to accept even today. And this is going to be a subject that will be considered highly speculative until we finally get to that point in which researchers encounter alien life from other planets, human scientists meeting with aliens, and make the discovery public, and then come to the point where they can compare human DNA from people of this planet with alien DNA from other people of other planets. And when they can find a similarity between the DNA of aliens and humans, then I think the question will be settled as to whether or not there was a commingling of alien and human DNA sometime in the distant past. And if it is found to be true, or if we just assume for the time being that it is true, then we will have to re-examine our understandings of humanity and our attitudes concerning who is human. When we watch science fiction shows like Star Trek or Stargate, Stargate's pretty much along this line of thinking, that there are humans all throughout the galaxy and possibly in other galaxies, and that there's really no clear indication of where the first humans originated from, but that there has been a lot of intermingling and interference and interbreeding, let's just say, between beings of our world and other worlds. But if we take those views and we take them seriously, then I think we do have to admit that humanity is not just something that is peculiar to this world, to this planet. If the Baha'i are correct, and if Zecharia Sitchin are correct, and science fiction writers from many, many generations have been correct, that there are at least humanoid beings on other worlds, then the humans of Earth may not be so special as we once thought. Definitely not as isolated as we once thought. That we are part of a far larger family. In the past, according to the understandings of Zecharia Sitchin and Gerald Clark, when these beings from other worlds came with their advanced craft, their advanced science, their abilities that must have seemed like just magic to our primitive ancestors. Our primitive ancestors thought these beings to be gods and gave them the designation of gods. Gods and goddesses in the Sumerian pantheon, and that these gods and goddesses were later given over to other Middle Eastern cultures, and then to the Greeks and to the Romans and to others. But looking at it from the perspective of modern day humanity, with the understanding that, yes, we have developed the space age, we have developed the nuclear age, we have just begun to understand the mysteries of the universe that previous generations could not get their heads around. With our modern day understanding, we would not look upon these aliens as being gods. According to today's understanding, I think we would look upon them as being alien invaders, alien beings that we may have to fight off by any means necessary. But with a more advanced or deeper understanding of our own nature and the possible nature of other alien races, we might tend to view them not as gods and not as alien invaders or intruders, but rather as our brothers and sisters. And I think this is a leap that we will eventually have to get to. And along these lines, I think the Buddhists have really been ahead of us for at least 2,000 or so years. Because with the Buddhist understanding, the Buddhist philosophy of life, they understand that all life is sacred, that all beings are blessed by the creator of the universe, or the source from which the universe has sprung. And in the Buddhist understanding, it's not just humans that count. It's all life on this planet. And according to the Buddhist understanding, I think also we can extend that understanding to other life that may well exist on other worlds, in other places within the known universe. A universe that we are just now beginning to fully understand, or more fully understand. A universe that we are just now beginning to get our human minds around. And when the Buddhists say, may all beings be content and easily satisfied, it is not just applied to all humans on this world, or all beings on this world, but all beings within the universe, period. And I think that is a very advanced, cosmic-centered point of view that we all must eventually develop too. Because I am firmly convinced, officially, we haven't discovered alien life, not yet. Unofficially, I think we have. But it won't be long until an announcement is made that extraterrestrial life in some form has been discovered and confirmed by modern science. And when that day comes, then we're going to have something else to get our heads around. The understanding that, yes, all life is sacred, and life isn't just an accident that happened here on Earth, but it is something that has arisen over and over and over again on countless worlds throughout our galaxy and many others. Of course, that opens up a can of worms there too, because if the view expressed by Zecharia Sitchin and Gerard Clark is correct, and that these alien researchers, alien scientists known collectively as the Anunnaki did manipulate the DNA of our pre-human ancestors. Does that mean that there is no God? Does that mean that God drives a flying saucer and the gods or God that most of us were raised believing in is just a bunch of hogwash? Not necessarily. And I will get to that question after this song, again by Anton Cosmo, The Universe. Back in my high school days, I read a book, and I forget now who the author was, but the title of it was, provocatively, Does God Drive a Flying Saucer? And that was when I was first exposed to the theories of Zecharia Sitchin and others, who were suggesting that alien beings had, in fact, been involved in the affairs of humanity for a very, very long time, and had even been working with us, like some sort of a high school science project, poking and prodding our ancestors, manipulating their DNA to try to create a being that was similar to themselves. And Gerald Clark has done a lot of work in this area, as well as Zecharia Sitchin. And Clark's work, The Genealogy of the Gods, he does trace the ancient Anunnaki down through history to the ancient gods and to our contemporary understanding of God. And of course, this raises the question, does God exist? If all this talk is true of alien beings playing God with humanity is true, then does that mean that there is no God, just little green men or gray men or albino men and women from other worlds playing games with us? Does it mean that everything we've been taught in Bible school, in church, mosques, synagogues, temples, that it's all just a bunch of hogwash? And I would say no. It does challenge the traditional view of God, yes. It is going to be a huge challenge if these theories are proven and if they are found to bear out over the course of time. But does that mean that there is no God? I think if we understand God in the broadest possible sense, not just as the Hebrew God or the Christian God or the Muslim God or any other religion you may care to think about, but think of the idea, the understanding of a divine being in the broadest possible sense as, like I like to call it, the divine source. Not male, not female, not neuter, but all of the above and more. A source, an intelligence, a creative intelligence that is so far above us, about as far above us as we are from, say, cockroaches or worms, and yet something that is a part of us and a part of the universe as a whole. If our understanding of God is this divine source, or what the Kabbalion calls the all, and the mind of the all, out of which all creation springs, then I think we can say that yes, there are aliens, and yes, we can say that there is a definite possibility that aliens have played God with us by manipulating our genes and treating our ancestors like some huge science project. But that does not preclude that there is an ultimate source that even the aliens came from. I mean, if you argue that if aliens created modern day humans, then there is no God, then you have to look at the question, who created the aliens? And one might say, well, another race of aliens created that race of aliens, and that race of aliens created us. And then you have to answer the question, okay, who created the other race of aliens? And you can keep right on going on down the line until you finally hit a brick wall and just have to say, there is a divine source from which all things have sprung, and to which all things shall return. And each world religion and school of human spirituality has its own take on how we understand this divine source, and we have ascribed a great number of names and attributes to this understanding of divinity. But we have to be able to admit that these understandings are not complete, that our knowledge of the divine is not complete, and our knowledge of the divine will surely grow as humanity continues to grow and expand and prosper and reach out further and further into the known universe, making new discoveries, gaining new insights, and asking all new questions. Where did we all come from? I think the understanding of a divine source that is responsible for holding the material universe into place fits perfectly. So if we admit that there is a possibility that aliens have played gods with the human race, that does not necessarily mean that no, there is no God. It just means that our understanding of God up to this point has been too narrow, too vague, too limited. That we have to be able to expand our understanding and come to a new knowledge of God, not as I can't even say it, the limited God that is behind the creation of the religions of our world, but have a broader, far more far-reaching understanding of the divine as being a infinitely creative source that has been doing an incredible amount of work in designing the universe that we know of, as well as the multiverse that we are still only beginning to get our heads around. And that this divine source cannot be neatly defined by our limited human understanding. And if we go that route, then I think we open ourselves up to an understanding of exo-theology that is not just earth-centered, that isn't just stuck with the things of this world and the presuppositions of human origins that all of us were raised with, but that there is a divine source that is just as much a reality to us as it would be to anybody else in the universe. That it is something that is a part of us and a part of them. Something, someone, some being or power that we all, humans from Earth, humans, aliens from other worlds, must all answer to, whether we drive flying saucers or Buicks or just ride bicycles. So the understanding that humans may have been coached along by aliens from other worlds far in our distant past, aliens that pretended to be gods and were accepted as gods for many thousands of years, does not mean that there is no divine source. It just means that we've had a few imposters in our ranks for a few millennia. But over time, we can grow with that understanding, we can work it out, and we can open our eyes. The Hermetic school of thought, or I should say the Hermetic schools of thought, because there's more than just one, views the divine in the following way. We don't say that there is a separation between the human and the divine source. We believe that there is a part of the divine within each and every one of us, that deep within our being, our nature, our soul, if you will, there is a place where the human and the divine source meet and commingle. As Jesus taught, and as other Hermetic teachers have taught, the kingdom of heaven is within you. We are not separate from the divine. The divine exists within us as well as without us. And the divine also exists within other beings, which we have not yet officially discovered yet, but whose story has been told by many who have been working along the lines of ancient Sumerian texts, deeper understandings of the book of Genesis, and other sacred documents. The kingdom of heaven is not something that we are separated from, although we do tend to perceive ourselves as being separate and isolated. But it is something which is intimately connected to each and every one of us, as well as each and every one of them. And when we open our minds to accept this reality, then we open ourselves up to a level of spiritual growth which is far deeper than anything most of our primitive ancestors could have imagined. I believe that we are on the verge of a grand new age of awakening, a cosmic awakening, in which we understand ourselves not just as creatures of this planet, but as beings within this universe who are related to other brothers and sisters and distant cousins that have been around for millennia, from worlds that we have not yet discovered, and that we are all one, human, alien, and alien humans alike. So, once we open our eyes to these possibilities that I've discussed, I think that we do need to broaden our view of what it is to be human, and have a more cosmic view of the human race, and perhaps come to the understanding that's been expressed by the Baha'i, that all throughout the universe there are human beings, that humanity is not something peculiar to this earth, but something that's been around for millennia, perhaps longer, and is pretty common throughout the galaxy. This is Frater Ralph signing off, wishing you a good evening and a blessed time of spiritual discovery. And I'm going to close out with this song, again by Anton Cosmo, Closer to Heaven. Until later, you take care, and thanks for joining me.
I feel your strike and your fight, and I want you. If you try, you'll die. It's just a phase, it's just a game. Stop it one more play. Shut the door, keep it score. Stop and win or play. If you draw, then you cross closer to heaven. You are the Lord, closer to heaven. I'll grieve. Your pride is so